For 5 agonizing days, hope refused to die. Families prayed. Volunteers searched. Boats crisscrossed the waters surrounding Mississippi's remote Horn Island. Helicopters scanned the shoreline from above. And across social media, thousands of strangers refreshed their screens over and over again, hoping to see just 4 words. Nolan has been found alive. Instead, on the morning of July 6th, that hope was shattered. Search crews located a body near the northwestern tip of Horn Island. Soon afterward, the heartbreaking confirmation arrived. Through dental records, authorities identified the body as 18-year-old Nolan Xavier Wells. The teenager who had vanished during what was supposed to be a fun Independence Day trip with friends was gone. But while one mystery had finally been answered, an even bigger one had only just begun. What really happened to Nolan Wells? And why are so many questions still unanswered days after his death? Nolan wasn't supposed to become the center of a nationwide mystery. By all accounts, he was an 18-year-old looking forward to spending the 4th of July on Horn Island, a beautiful, undeveloped barrier island off the Mississippi Gulf Coast. The island is known for its white sand beaches, thick vegetation, and crystal-clear water. Every holiday weekend, groups of boaters make the trip to enjoy the sun, the water, and the celebration. For Nolan and his friends, it was meant to be another summer adventure. But somewhere during that afternoon, something changed. Exactly what happened during Nolan's final hours remains one of the biggest unanswered questions in the investigation. Authorities have released only limited details about his movements before he disappeared, and investigators continue piecing together a timeline using witness statements, photographs, videos, and digital evidence. As the search expanded over several days, hundreds of volunteers joined local, state, and federal agencies. Every passing hour made the situation more heartbreaking. Hope slowly gave way to fear. Then came the discovery. Authorities have said that, based on the evidence available so far, they have not found evidence of foul play. At the same time, they have emphasized that the investigation remains active and that the official cause and manner of Nolan's death have not yet been released. Although drowning is currently considered a possibility, investigators have stressed that they are waiting for complete autopsy findings and toxicology results before making any final determination. That distinction is important. Many cases appear straightforward in their earliest stages, but become far more complicated as additional evidence is analyzed. For that reason, officials continue urging patience while forensic experts complete their work. Then another major development shifted public attention. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump announced that he had been retained by Nolan's family. Known for representing families in nationally watched cases, Crump said the Wells family wants complete transparency and a thorough investigation into everything that happened during Nolan's final hours. According to Crump, the family is not satisfied with unanswered questions surrounding the timeline of events. His involvement immediately brought national attention to the case. News organizations across the country began following developments that had previously been covered mainly by local Mississippi outlets. Suddenly, the mystery surrounding Horn Island was no longer just a regional story. It had become national news. The family also announced another significant step. Rather than relying solely on the state's medical examination, they requested an independent autopsy. That decision reflects the family's desire to have every possible question examined by an additional forensic expert before accepting conclusions about Nolan's death. Independent autopsies are not uncommon in high-profile or disputed cases. They provide another medical opinion and may either support or challenge the findings of the original examination. For Nolan's loved ones, the goal is simple. They want answers, not assumptions, not speculation. Answers. Meanwhile, another aspect of the investigation has sparked widespread discussion online. Nolan's cell phone. Before Nolan disappeared, he reportedly became separated from his phone. It was later recovered and returned to his family. In recent days, attorney Ben Crump stated publicly that the family believes text messages had been deleted from the phone. That claim has generated enormous interest online. However, it is important to note that investigators have not publicly confirmed that messages were deleted, nor have they released any forensic findings from the phone itself. At this stage, it remains a claim raised by the family's legal team rather than an established finding by law enforcement. If forensic analysts examine the device, they may be able to determine whether messages were deleted, when any deletions occurred, and whether deleted data can be recovered. Until officials release those results, the phone remains another unanswered piece of the puzzle. Investigators are also asking anyone who was on Horn Island on July 4th to come forward with original photographs, videos, or eyewitness accounts. Even a seemingly insignificant image captured in the background of someone's vacation photo could help establish Nolan's movements during the day. Sometimes the smallest detail becomes the breakthrough investigators need. A timestamp, a reflection, a familiar face in the distance, a boat entering or leaving the shoreline. These tiny fragments often become critical pieces in reconstructing the truth. And right now, authorities are trying to assemble that puzzle one piece at a time. Because despite days of searching, despite the heartbreaking discovery, despite the autopsy, and despite the national attention now surrounding the case, the biggest question still has no answer. What happened to Nolan Xavier Wells during those final hours on Horn Island?
Investigators believe that somewhere within a span of just a few hours lies the answer to the mystery. Those hours have become the focus of an investigation that now stretches far beyond Mississippi's Gulf Coast. Every interview, every cell phone record, every photograph, every social media post, every eyewitness account. Authorities are attempting to reconstruct Nolan Xavier Wells' final movements minute by minute. Yet despite countless hours of investigative work, several critical gaps remain. And those gaps have fueled both legitimate questions and widespread speculation. Horn Island is unlike most places people visit for a holiday. It has no hotels, no neighborhoods, no permanent residents, no convenience stores, no streetlights. It is part of the Gulf Islands National Seashore, a remote barrier island where visitors typically arrive by private boat and spend the day swimming, relaxing, fishing, and celebrating before returning to the mainland. Its beauty is undeniable, but its isolation also creates unique challenges. If someone becomes separated from their group, there are few immediate resources available. Dense vegetation, changing tides, intense summer heat, and long stretches of undeveloped shoreline can quickly turn an emergency into a life-threatening situation. Investigators are examining whether those environmental conditions played any role in Nolan's disappearance. Authorities have not publicly released a complete minute-by-minute timeline of Nolan's last known movements. What they have confirmed is that he disappeared on July 4th while on Horn Island with friends. At some point, Nolan became separated from his group. Exactly how that happened, and why, has not been publicly explained. Investigators continue interviewing witnesses who were on the island that day in an effort to determine who last saw Nolan, where he was seen, and what occurred afterward. Those interviews are expected to remain a key part of the investigation. One reason the case has attracted such widespread attention is the number of unanswered questions surrounding those final hours. For example, why did Nolan become separated from the people he arrived with? Who was with him during his final known moments? Were there additional witnesses who have not yet spoken publicly? Did anyone capture photos or videos that could place him at a specific location? Investigators have not publicly answered these questions. Instead, they continue asking anyone who visited Horn Island on July 4th to submit original, unedited photos and videos. What might appear to be an ordinary vacation snapshot could contain valuable clues hidden in the background. A timestamp, a distant figure, a boat, or simply confirmation that Nolan was in a particular area at a particular time. In missing person and death investigations, those seemingly ordinary details can become extraordinarily important. As investigators continue their work, public attention has increasingly shifted toward Nolan's cell phone. Earlier in the investigation, Nolan's mother explained that his phone had already been recovered and was with the family during the search. That clarification answered one question, but it raised others. Why wasn't the phone with Nolan? When exactly did he become separated from it? Who found it? Where was it located? Authorities have not publicly answered those questions. Then came another development that intensified public interest. Attorney Ben Crump stated that the family believes text messages had been deleted from Nolan's phone. The statement immediately spread across social media, prompting countless theories about what those messages might have contained. However, it is important to distinguish between what has been claimed and what has been confirmed. At this point, investigators have not publicly verified that any messages were deleted. They have also not released the results of any forensic examination of the phone or indicated whether digital evidence supports the family's concerns. Digital forensic specialists are often able to recover deleted information or determine when changes were made to a device, but officials have not announced whether such findings exist in this case. Until they do, The circumstances surrounding the phone remain an open question rather than an established fact. Another major question involves the medical investigation itself. The state has completed an autopsy, but authorities have not released the official cause or manner of death. Officials have indicated that drowning is one possibility being considered, yet they have emphasized that no final determination has been made. Additional testing, including toxicology, can take weeks. Because of that, investigators are urging the public not to jump to conclusions while those results are pending. The Wells family, meanwhile, has chosen not to rely solely on the state's examination. They requested an independent autopsy, seeking another expert opinion in hopes of answering questions that continue to trouble them. Independent examinations can either reinforce the original findings or identify details that warrant further investigation. At this stage, no results from that independent examination have been made public. Meanwhile, the Jackson County Sheriff's Office continues to stress one consistent message: the investigation is still active. Officials have said they have not found evidence of foul play based on the evidence currently available. But they have also made it clear that they are continuing to gather information and have not closed the case. Those two statements are not contradictory. Investigations often remain open while forensic testing, witness interviews, and evidence reviews continue. Only after all available information has been analyzed can investigators determine whether additional action is necessary. For now, the search for answers continues. As days pass, the questions surrounding Nolan's final hours have become increasingly personal for his family. They are not simply waiting for a report. They are waiting for an explanation. An explanation of how an ordinary 4th of July outing ended in unimaginable tragedy. An explanation of what happened between the moment Nolan was last seen and the moment search crews found him days later. And an explanation that will finally replace uncertainty with truth. Whether those answers come from forensic evidence, witness testimony, digital analysis, or the independent autopsy remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: the investigation is far from over.
Although Nolan Xavier Wells has been found, the investigation into how he died is far from over. For his family, the search has changed. They are no longer searching for Nolan, they are searching for the truth. To ensure every question is answered, the Wells family has hired civil rights attorney Ben Crump, who is calling for a full and transparent investigation into Nolan's final hours. The family has also requested an independent autopsy in addition to the state's examination, hoping a second forensic review may provide more answers. So far, neither the state's final autopsy report nor the independent autopsy findings have been released. Another major focus is Nolan's cell phone. The phone was recovered and returned to his family after his disappearance. More recently, Ben Crump stated that the family believes text messages were deleted from the device. However, it is important to note that investigators have not publicly confirmed this claim, nor have they released the results of any digital forensic examination. Whether deleted messages can be recovered, or whether they even existed, remains unknown. Authorities have continued to emphasize that this is still an active investigation. Based on the evidence currently available, they say they have not found evidence of foul play, but detectives are still reviewing witness statements, digital evidence, and media collected from people who were on Horn Island during the 4th of July weekend. Investigators are also asking anyone who visited Horn Island on July 4th to submit original photos or videos. Even a single image or short video could help establish Nolan's movements or identify witnesses who have not yet come forward. Meanwhile, the official cause and manner of Nolan's death have not been released. While drowning has been mentioned as one possible explanation, authorities are waiting for the complete autopsy and toxicology results before making any final determination. As this case continues to receive national attention, it's important to separate confirmed facts from online speculation. Right now, many of the questions surrounding Nolan's final hours remain unanswered, and investigators are still working to piece together exactly what happened on Horn Island. For Nolan's family, every day is another day of waiting for forensic reports, digital evidence, and above all, the truth. If you've been following this case, what questions do you think investigators still need to answer? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments below, but remember that this is a real family experiencing an unimaginable loss. If you found this update informative, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss future updates on this case and other true crime investigations. Thank you for watching, and until next time, stay informed and let the evidence lead the story.